to Twitter to condemn a popular Nairobi bar after a video shared online showed the club's bouncers discriminating or appeared to be discriminating Kenyan revelers against their Indian and Caucasian counterparts. This led to Nairobi Governor Anne Kananu suspending the trading license of the besieged Alchemist bar. Did KOT rush to condemn the restaurant? Do we really need to hear the other side of the story? Is there another side to this story? As someone who has stranded over so many false claims and allegations, you never really know where to take this from, you know, because the video clearly shows a very different story. I have been to Alchemist about 3 or 4 times, and not because ati amamina of the trend, you know, but it's just they were very respectful. It wasn't full or busy, so I don't know if it's maybe when they have busy nights or something like that, because when I went there, it wasn't bad. So I'm not going to sit here and just sort of like try and just drown them, or I don't want to do that. But I have been there. That's not the experience I had. It wasn't because of the platform I have. I promised to God it wasn't. Mariam, you've been there.
I have. And I'll start by just saying multiple things can be true at the same time. So the guy who took this video has actually put out a statement earlier today, and he said that he agrees that the video did not portray what was actually happening on the ground, right? And that's the fact that the exit that looks like it was reserved for Asian and white people was actually an exit, and there was like a group, you know, the way you go to the club with your friends and then you're trying to negotiate for yourselves as a crew or something, or they were inside and then they were trying to get back outside. There's multiple stories. So he put out a statement and said that, right?
I mean, I don't know, Mariam. They were clearly lining up.
Yes, they were clearly lining up. So that's what Alchemist said. That's what Alchemist said from the other. And I will say this, even if that were true, because multiple people have come out and said, we know the owners, we know this, we know that, or at this particular incident, there was no racism, it just happened to be an exit being used by people, etc. There is a pattern, though, with the Alchemist. It's not the first or second time, probably the third or fourth time, that people have said, you know what, we go to this place, we don't feel welcome. I've seen literally on their walls, they do have signs that say, if you don't feel like you've been treated fairly, call this. That means already you've had a complaint or two. So it means that there's a pattern of repeated like either behavior. It may not be from the owners, but there's something systemically that's wrong with what they're doing, and they definitely need to figure that out. I've seen people say that it's unfair because it's a business. It employs many Kenyans, most of them black. There's 6 other businesses that are within the premises that are also suffering as a result of this shutdown, and that's not fair to them. But I don't think the aim is to hurt anybody, but genuinely to deal with a systematic issue that they have.
That is well said. Well said. Well, Kwach, I see what you saw in her. I see what you saw in her.
Now you guys understand.
She's trying to be extremely fair.
No, but the other thing that I would also say is, you know, the laws of natural justice states that before you know the facts, you have to stand with the victim first. Before you know who is right or wrong, you have to do not be the one to rush to doubt victim statements. That, for example, like this one, it was not about the video. It's not about this guy representing Alchemist in the right or wrong light. It was the stories that it provoked after. The people that came out that said that, you know, I have been treated this way, that way. Personally, I have friends who've told me that they've been to the Alchemist and they were not treated equally. Like they were sidelined and other guys were asked. I don't know if they can testify to it, but that's, I'm not taking only their word for it. And also, the other side of this story is that it is bringing up a bigger conversation of there are several organizations, not just the Alchemist. There are several organizations that are mistreating, foreign organizations that are mistreating Kenyan workers here. And as much as it is wrong to say it this way, these days we are citizens of the world. There is no one who says this is our home, but this is our home. There's no way you can be treated unequally there and here as well. So that's why we are asking that at least if you can't treat us well there, treat us well here. Yeah, that's the only. You remember there was a video that even came out of the, you know, the chef that was being caned in a Chinese restaurant. Yeah, and guys reacted to it. We've seen videos of how the workers at, you know, that work for these foreign companies sometimes get treated, and we know we have these stories. So when this accusation comes up, it's not something that's coming from a baseless place. It's something that people have gone through, and they would want it to be corrected. So we would want, if Alchemist is innocent, we would want that to be put out, that they are innocent, investigation was done, and this and this and this. And this goes to other organizations as well.
That is very true. Kwach is absolutely right. We've heard of so many of these stories. There was a time my sister was working in Westlands, and she had to quit because every time their boss came in who was of
Caucasian, Asian,
descent, you know, not my words, but anyway, so when she walked in, they would have to stop whatever it is that they're doing, and they would have to stand up And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, sometimes like you stand up and bow or stand. And she was like, she just couldn't do it. She was like, I know I'm desperate, but not this much. Cindy, I know you're very passionate about issues such as these ones. So.
Yeah. And it really breaks my heart that the many years that I've been in the trend, this is not the first time we're talking about discrimination against black Kenyans in Kenya.
Yeah.
And most of the discrimination comes from black Kenyans. In the case of the Alchemist, you know, you could say, oh, it's because the owner is a foreigner and, you know, maybe because of his clout, he gets his people or his community or his networks who are favored because they spend more and they tip more. You know, there's that sort of discussion that even when you go to hotels in the coast, they would rather serve, you know, a foreigner or a tourist because they tip, and us Kenyans will order them around, us Kenyans of dark skin, we will order them around, and then at the end of the day, we won't tip them. So there's so many.
So that argument is usually more elitist than racist. They're trying to say this is not a race issue. Yeah. It's a class issue almost.
It's a class issue, exactly. Yeah. And it still exists. I mean, we have communities where you cannot rent from them. We have apartments. You can't rent. It's Asian only. It's a different, you know, race only. And nobody's talking about that.
In Kenya.
In Kenya. Yeah. Nobody's talking about the fact that there are schools that don't accept single mothers. It's neo-colonialism. And I like that we're having this discussion, but let's make it wider.
Let's make it wider.